Welcome everyone to the 2017-18 version of the Preston Knight Boys Basketball Coaches Show. Hi, I'm Terry Cochran, along with my colleague Steve Blake and the new Preston Knight basketball coach, Paul Koontz. Paul, nice to have you here on the set with us for the first time, and I know you've got a lot to talk about. But first I want to say, Steve, you've been the voice of the Knights for over 25 years, and I just want to give you a
I'm
lot
not that
of credit.
old. Wait a minute.
Between you and Gary, it's got to be 30
18,
years now.
18 years. 18 years. I used to say I wasn't quite older than dirt, but now they've got that manufactured stuff over on the baseball field that they put in back in the fall. So now I'm literally older than dirt, but so are you.
Yeah, that's true. But I just want to give a big shout out to Gary Livengood. Gary has been the voice doing things for Preston High for that long or longer. And
we took him right off the bus, fresh out of retirement.
Yeah.
I think he was retired about a week, and we put him on TV and never looked back. And had an enjoyable football season. Didn't maybe quite have the record that Coach Tennant and the boys wanted to achieve, but I think they're going in a positive direction. And Gary and I had a lot of fun with that. But now we turn our attention to something that Gary, Terry, and I all love, and that's Preston High basketball. And there's nothing more fun than getting in the gym. Last couple of years, it's been a little bit experimental as we've gone through the coaching changes. Everybody knows the history. Only coach Preston High ever had was Barry Sanders for a long, long time. We went through a couple of seasons where the Knights have been down. Coach Koontz, you stepped into the melee here. You were introduced back in the summer, back in June as the new head coach. You've taken that role on wholeheartedly, and I know you've been working hard both in the off season and now that tryouts and practices have started. And I'd like to talk a little bit about your philosophy starting with those tryouts, because I think you had a pretty good turnout.
Yeah, we did. We had close 50 boys come out, through freshmen through seniors. So, we had some numbers to choose from, and the boys had to earn their positions. So it was, it was definitely a good positive direction to see.
As you scouted the halls of Preston High, were you able to get some talent that maybe wouldn't have considered coming out, at least to come out and try?
Yeah, probably so. Notably, two boys that made the varsity team have not been part of the program maybe since their freshman year. So we got one football player who's a senior, but he came out as well. So we'll talk about those boys here in a little bit. But yeah, we had two boys that was outside the program that got back in it. So it was good.
That's great, because you get off to a great start, right off the bat, instilling what you want them to know. And I think having the big open tryout with large numbers like that shows folks that maybe Preston basketball is about to turn a corner.
We sure hope so.
I noticed you kept 13 out of that 50, and you may have moved some of those down to JV, right?
Yeah, we're right now, our varsity squad has 11 players, so that's where we'll probably finish out the season with. JV has 12, and the freshman has 12.
And you start out with some pretty difficult games. You start out right off the start on December 6th. You go at home. That's a good thing. We play University High, and man, fans, we need everyone out there for this first game for Coach and all these new players that are out. That would be a great game for everyone to come out and get behind the Knights.
Well, it's definitely going to be a tall order. University High coming off I think like a 23-2 season, state semifinal state tournament appearance, and probably be a little bit better this year than they were last year. So the competition is going to get real quick. And our goal that we're trying to set is we want to be competitive. We had 2 games with University last year, and we were on the losing end by 75 or more points each time, we're just going with that's unacceptable, and we've got to build on that.
Then you come back on the 8th, you're right back in the fire with Morgantown. So it doesn't get much easier.
No, our first 3 games, matter of fact. But yeah, Wednesday night, University High. Then we go to Morgantown High on Friday night. Both those teams will be in the top 5 in the state, probably preseason AAA rankings. But again, we want to compete with them and be competitive. That we want to see if we can be in the game in the fourth quarter and see what happens. But we're definitely going to take on the challenge. I can guarantee you.
Well, Coach, I know it's difficult to turn a program around on any level, and Steve knows this. We've seen a lot of coaches up there come and go, but I have a lot of confidence in you for one reason. You've dealt with people throughout your racing career, so you've had the parents, you've seen everything thrown at you that you can possibly get for that part of it. So I think you have a lot of confidence coming in here for this basketball.
Well, it's probably one of the biggest things that prepared me is being a basketball referee for 35 years.
Yeah, so that makes a big difference.
You have knives at you no matter what, because every call you make, 50% of the crowd's against you. But you know what? I've so far we've had a great group of parents. We've had a couple meetings. And I did go to the parents right off the bat when we got this thing started. It's time to come together, support these kids first. I have no relatives on the team. I have no anybody. I'm in this stake for all the kids, every one of them, and so everyone has an opportunity. It's a fresh start, and I think a lot of the parents like that attitude. And the kids that play, they're going to earn their playing time. It's there's for no other reason you're on the court because you earned it. So I've got along real well with the parents, and I just hope it even gets better because I've been around basketball many years, and the successful schools that I've been at, parents are together. So we're going to try to get that going at Preston High as well.
Well, Coach, I've talked to some folks around the community who've been pleasantly surprised by the openness of the door, so to speak, with your program right from the get-go. You've been willing to meet and greet and talk to anybody who wanted to talk about basketball and about the program and what it takes to turn it around. Are you getting that same kind of good feeling and support from the administration in the Preston County school system? And not to say this detrimentally, but I don't think at the top our administrators are particularly, athletics guys, and that's okay because that's not their job. They're administrators. But has the door been open on that end for you, and have you gotten the help that you've needed from the Board of Education and the administrators at the high school?
Well, I can say this: anything we've needed to do that we had to involve administrators got taken care of. They've it's an open door. Mr. Watering and all of them. If you need something, come and talk to me. And so I'll answer that at the big yes right now. Bruce Huggins with the athletic director. There's limited funds on what to do up there,
yes.
and we just a month or so ago the scoreboards went out and they're done. But I'll tell you, I have a great coaching staff, and our JV coach, my assistant coach Steve Felton, had some contacts with Coastal Drilling, and my gosh, those folks shelled out a $10,000 donation, and there's 2 new scoreboards hanging in Preston High right now because of that. So
okay, well there's a news break right off the bat, something we didn't know about, and that's fantastic.
Yes.
And kudos to the folks at Coastal, and we thank them for getting involved certainly. And additionally, I know some things would have to happen administratively for that to take place as well. Purchase orders and things, the paperwork still has to go through. And in looking around the state, Preston High, one of the larger schools, a AAA school, and Terry and I and other folks have bandied this about for some time, that it's a little bit unfair to a county like Preston that's so rural, with so many road miles to travel, and so much to overcome in that regard, schedule-wise and mileage-wise for these student athletes, and then to go get games, just your schedule for pre-season scrimmages was terrifying.
Yeah.
In terms of the amount of miles you had to cover.
Yeah.
Was that by design? I have to ask this because somebody asked me, was that by design? Did you want to get out of town and get on the road to kind of do that to your young team or the younger members of your team right up front? Or was that because it was hard to get scrimmages?
A little bit of both. Mainly, I wanted to get out of the area. We wanted to go. We're still a work in progress, and they're going to get enough pressure December 6th with University in Morgantown.
Yeah.
We didn't need scrimmage pressure, and so I tried to get a scrimmage at Capitol in South Charleston. We were just going to get way away, and both of those were booked. So we was able to get Frankfurt and Parkersburg. So, and I told both of them when we called, we're coming to your place if that's okay. And so they laughed.
I'm sure they didn't have a problem with that.
No, and both of them were great hosts and fed the teams and very gracious. So we appreciated that. And so, yeah, we kind of wanted to get away. But I can tell you this, the parents came, and that was great. Both games, I looked up there and seen all the parents. So that was fantastic to see that support right away also.
What did you learn in the scrimmages that maybe you didn't know already about this team? Or did you learn anything in the scrimmages that you didn't know about your team?
Well, our first scrimmage was at Frankfurt, and the format you go is you go 3 varsity quarters, then you play 2 JV, then 3 varsity, 2 JV. So we were up first, and we played our first 3 quarters, and I didn't recognize who was out there. We threw the ball away. We didn't set. Our offense was just completely out of sync, and those first 3 quarters we got it put to us pretty good. So, while the 2 JV quarters was going on, we got together and chalkboarded some things and talked over some things. I'm still in a teaching process, and as bad as we played the first 3, was a complete turnaround in the next 3. And the big key out there, everybody played about the same amount of time in that scrimmage. So, we got it handed to us in the first 3, but we handed it right back. So they responded. That was a big thing I wanted to see. And then, we had a lot of things to work out. So Wednesday night's practice after that Tuesday scrimmage, I'll just say it was very spirited, to say the least.
Intense, if I know you well.
It was probably one of our most intenses. Thursday night we probably had the best practice we've had of the season, and Friday night was just as good. So we're now Parkersburg's probably going to be a top 10 team as well. They've got one kid that's being recruited by several D1 colleges, and he's really tough in there. They got another kid that's going to be a D2 player. So and their guards were 6'4", so that was their shortest player. So we knew what we was going up against. And I tell you, I slept well Saturday night. The effort was unbelievable. We were down 2 at the first quarter. We were down 6 at halftime. Third quarter, we got a little bit. We played a lot of people. Got down a little bit, and then in the last 3 quarters, we played even on 1 quarter. And if you kind of look at when we had our starters and they had their starters for 4 quarters, we lose by about 12 points to a top 10 team. So even though a team outscores you, they scored 20 points at the foul line. So we fouled a lot, and we got to work on that. But other than that, we pretty well played them, punch for punch.
Considering that it's always a growth process over the course of a season, that's a pretty good start in the preseason. Although, as Terry mentioned, and you don't just jump into the frying pan and then into the fire. You're going straight into the fire. So if you feel pretty good about that scrimmage headed into the first 3 regular season games, I'd take that as a big positive and encourage fans to get out and see something that should be a pretty exciting brand of Preston Knight basketball.
Yeah, that University. I haven't seen the preseason rankings yet, but if they're not ranked 1 or 2, something's wrong. So fans, you probably got a chance to see the number 1 team in the state coming into our house to open their season, and you know, I guarantee you we're going to show up and we're going to play our hearts out, and that, you know, that's where we need to start. And at the end of that game, we're going to know where we are, and you know, we're going to use it as a teaching game. And you know, I don't know, you know, I can tell you we're not coming out to lose. I can tell you that. So we're going to play spirited basketball.
Coach, I notice looking down the list of the players that you just handed me, and not too many people know what this list is so far, but I see some old names and I see some new names, and some players that maybe were out a couple years ago and are back, and that's very positive. I see Jake Livengood back.
Mm-hmm.
Jake was a very instrumental player a couple years ago, and he didn't play last year, and he's got some size and ability. So I know that's a big help to you. Hayden Park, Andrew Lance is back, and then we come down to Matt Allen, and then here's one that I haven't seen before, is Matt Thomas. Tell us a little bit about Matt Thomas.
Well, Matt is a senior this year. He played as a freshman. Hasn't played the past couple years, and you know, I went to him and talked to him, and some other folks talked to him, and you know, I told some of these boys that are seniors that haven't played last couple years, and he was one of them. This is your last chance. I mean, you're a senior this year. If you want to play basketball, come to the workouts, do what you got to do, and you know, we'll see what happens. And Matt came to our workout program in the fall and just did a fantastic job. I mean, he's gonna be a key factor in this season's success. I can tell you. You know, he's 6'4" and solid as a rock. He works hard as anybody on the team every night. Some of the endurance and speed drills that we do, Matt's up front. He will give 100% every night. So folks are going to like to see Matt, you know, come in. He will probably be our first person off the bench if needed, depending on the situation. But you know, by mid-season he may even work his way into a starting position. So his basketball skills is coming back. You know, he's going to be a pleasure to watch.
I see Justin Moats. That's a new name to me.
Mm-hmm. Justin, I believe, played as a freshman and then has played football. And you know, he came to me and was the most politest young man you could ever meet, and said, "Coach, I just want to be part of turning this program around and be a winner." And I said, "Well, you know, you come out and you know, do what you can do, and we'll see." And I mean, he just gave so much effort. You know, he's a good, strong young man. Again, his basketball skills, you know, he's got to get them back. But he has been, you know, very patient with all that, and you know, he's going to be a good leader on the team for us.
Then we go back to your juniors. Looks like you're bringing back Ethan Livengood, Corey Piles, Monty Ribella, and John Noah Lockery, which, and then your lone sophomore, Nick Smith. So I see a lot of talent on this team. A lot of talent that maybe just needed a little push to get back together again. But that's a pretty good lineup, Coach.
Yeah, it's a good group. I'm been very pleased with their effort as well. Ethan Livengood worked all summer. You know, that's one of the things we've got to get in this program is dedication. And he is one of the young men that worked from when March ended last year. He didn't stop playing basketball, and that is why he's in the position where he's at right now with the program. You know, he'll be a definite potential starter, and probably will start at point and wing. He's got great basketball sense, but he's worked very hard to where he is. You know, Corey Piles, our other wing guy there. You know, Corey kind of, as a freshman, you know, got brought up, and Corey's been through the ringer, but all that, you know, those tough times still has gotten Corey experience. And, you know, he knows what you know, of all the people on that team, probably Corey knows what's coming Wednesday and Friday, and you know, he's a great outside shooter, but the thing I've been working with Corey to get him better is to drive to the bucket. don't be a one-dimensional player, and he's been very receptive to that. Great young man, so we're happy and pleased with that. And Monty and John Noah, Monty's a soccer player, but a great basketball player as well. He's got a bright future for us. He's learning. He's getting his basketball hands back. Mm-hmm. And John Noah, very good guard. A good penetrating, slashing kid, going to play well. And then our sophomore Nick Smith. We brought one sophomore up. Nick's probably about 6'4" now, and he's one of the kids that if we can get the dedication out of him, the sky's the limit. And he's been working very hard, and we talk every day about getting his basketball skills back. It's a good group. I have high expectations for them, and they know that, and we've put it out there. You guys are good ball players. We just need to do some things, get some things corrected, and we're working hard on that.
Well, in the past, Preston against these big AAA schools have been downsized to the point where we didn't have the size to go up against some of these bigger schools. But this list shows me you're not small. You got 6'4", 6'3", 6'4", and another 6'4".
Yeah.
Plus your guards, they all have talent, and they've played a couple years now. So I think there's some good expectations for this team.
Yeah, I mean, guard play is very important. Past couple of years, one of the struggling problems was just getting the ball off the floor, getting it in the front court, getting the offense going. And we've worked very hard with that, maybe to putting some bigger athletes out there. At the AAA level, it's tough. If your guard's not 6 foot tall, I mean, most front lines we're seeing 6'2", 6'4".
Right.
Those guys are coming at you. University High will trap three players on you
all night long.
Yeah, they'll full court us, and when they trap with 3 players. They're so quick they'll put a third player in there. So our guard play Wednesday night, is really going to be tough. But we're just going to have our wings help out. We've got to be smart with the basketball, and don't fall into that trap. Don't fall into that pressure. University. They like to get the ball down the floor and within 10 seconds shoot. I mean, I can guarantee you they're coming up here with a goal in mind of scoring 100 points. So that's what the mentality of that team is: a rebound, outlet pass, and down. And if they don't score on you in transition, they'll set it up, 2-3 passes, and either shoot or take it to the hole. I mean, they're that quick. That's the type and brand of ball they play. They've got the athletes to do that, and we've got to counter that. So there's some things we're going to do. Folks need to come out and see. And probably one of the biggest things is defensive effort. I mean, we've started with defense. We have got to play good defense. So we'll see how that pans out.
Will you be aggressive defensively? Is there a press in the future for the Knights, or is that something that's going to have to develop over time as some of these players hone their skills and kind of get their basketball legs under them?
Yeah, we're not going to be press Virginia, that for sure.
Few are.
Yes, few are. It takes a whole 5 special athletes to do that. We will press when we need to, and when we feel it's going to be to our advantage to do so. University High, are we going to press them? Sure, boy, that would be tough to be able to successfully press a team that's that quick. We're going to have to worry about just getting back and getting in position to defend on the hurricane that's coming at you. So, there'll be teams that we'll come right out of the gate and try to explode on. We call our presses and things havoc. We like to try to create havoc and get the other team forced into mistakes.
Are you better in a zone or man-to-man right now?
That's a funny situation. Most teams you would think would be, zone. You could play that better than man-to-man, but so far we've struggled playing zone because we like to stand around. We don't get as active. Man-to-man, we go at it. Of course, we've done a lot of drills for that activity, and we seem to play a little better man-to-man than we do zones. We're some of these kids have kind of lost their fundamentals past few years, and we're really working hard to get those back. But ball watching and just not a lot of movement on when you're in a zone can cause problems for you, and that's what we're trying to correct. So we in both scrimmages we struggled with zones, but when we played man to man, especially full court, we created things. So we'll probably at some point my goal at Preston High is every team when it comes to play us knows they're going to get straight up man to man. We're probably not at that point right now, but I'd like to be a straight up man to man defensive team, and but zone has its place, but right now we're not very good at it.
Judging by the commentary so far, I think, and looking at the glint in your eye, I think you've got a pretty good idea who your starting five will be for that opener. But they may not know yet. Fair enough?
Maybe he don't want to tell you.
Well, I didn't ask who they were. I asked if he knew who they were.
I do. We've looked at 7 or 8 kids. We have our starting 5 picked out, and I'll tell you what, I'll leave it to the folks to pay their couple dollars and come and see Wednesday night. You're going to be very pleased with the 5 kids that come on the floor.
Coach, I agree wholeheartedly. But more importantly, something else that you just said, I'm going to stop you right there. You said we looked real hard at 7 or 8 kids. That tells me that you've got some help there on the bench.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Which has been one of the keys in previous incarnations of the Preston Knight varsity. There really wasn't even a very good 6th body to throw into the mix. And there certainly wasn't a 7th or an 8th deep. Now, I'm not going to ask you how deep your bench is at this point in the year. You're going to find that out pretty soon in these first 3 games, who wants to play. But does it feel like you can turn to that bench and you're not going to have guys looking the other way going, I hope he's not putting me in?
I can tell you in those scrimmages, when I look down the bench, I seen wide eyes and looking right at me. I want in, Coach.
I want in.
Good. That's what we want.
And because we and I told him the very first minute that we hit the floor, we will play how we practice. We have spirited practices, and if you don't want to play that way, then I don't know why you're here. So there's nobody on that bench that I'm afraid to put in. There's some on the bench that their basketball skills in the next 2 to 3 weeks will be better than they are now. And they'll probably play more in those 2 to 3 weeks. Things happen, foul trouble, kids get sick. All kind of things. We've kind of assigned somebody for everybody on the team, so everybody knows who they're back. It's kind of a different system I'm using with our bench. It's kind of we either have height or guards. Sometimes a little guard heavy, but we've had to make some adjustments with some of that. But every person really has somebody on the starting 5 that they're going to be interchangeable with, and that starting 5 will probably be experimented with in the month of December. Now by sometime in January we should know who our first 5 will be, but there's 2 or 3 other kids in there that could definitely get an opportunity to start, and probably will. We're all new and we're learning this together, so I'm not going to say, well, that's our 5 starters, that's it. Those kids know, they work hard. You know what, Coach is going to give me an opportunity, and that's how it's going to be.
Well, you start out with the big games, University, Morgantown, Magnolia, and that's a team that not too many folks in town are going to know much about. But again, that's going to by no means be an easy go-around for the Knights here in December. When you get into January, and I know the schedule is kind of permeable in January as far as when games happen, depends on the weather and what kind of winter we have. Yes, there are snow days in Preston County, and things get moved around. But at the point that you really get into the meat of the schedule, so to speak, and you sort of get the Magnolias and those teams behind you, how much does the Big Ten Conference help or hurt? in the schedule that you are required to play?
Well, I have a few mixed feelings about that, but it is what it is as far as that's where we are, that's what we're doing. So
Sure.
we set a goal. We want to be no worse than 4th place in the Big Ten. There's 13 teams in there. We want to be in the top 4, if not 3. Now, some of those schools that's in there's, they were AAA just a couple of years ago.
Right.
Fairmont Senior, AA state champions last year. They're better this year than they were last year, guarantee you. So they're going to be a tough obstacle in there as well. Bridgeport is always tough. North Marion has a kid that already signed with UAB Division I. He's 6'10", going to be very tough to defend. And all the other schools, Lincoln's tough. Grafton, Philip Barber, I've heard is very talented this year. So for us to even think about getting in the top 4 in this conference that is pretty well AA heavy, I've refereeing around the state with many AA schools, the best AA schools are in North Central West Virginia, and I think some of that comes from they're the biggest. They were AAA schools just a few years ago, and they still run very fine athletic programs in all sports, especially basketball. So, do I wish we could play an all AAA schedule? Yes, and we're working on maybe next year doing some moving towards some of that, but at the same time, some of those Big Ten schools we play, you got to run the table before you can say we're better than this conference.
It's a little different in basketball, I'll grant you. I'm happy to see this. We don't lose some of the good rivalry games like the game with Elkins, the games with Lewis County. Those are good rivalry games where everybody gets up a pretty good head of steam. Tucker County is an example of you're not playing down, you're just playing across the mountain. It doesn't matter what their school is ranked or whether they're a single A, double A, or triple A. They love basketball, we love basketball, and you get in the gym and go at it. And I've never been to a Preston Tucker County game that wasn't a great game. Never in 18 years seen a bad one. And you better show up early because you can get there at 5 o'clock and the gym's full sometimes. It's not so much should it be all AAA. I mean, with a declining population somewhat in the state, and maybe that'll turn around in the next few years with the influx of some industry and some new things happening in West Virginia, we'll see. But at this point in time, hard to get an all AAA schedule. Football couldn't do it, and they only play 10 games.
Yeah.
So looking at basketball, looking at where you're at and what you're trying to accomplish, I guess the question about scheduling is this. If the Big Ten is sort of a mixed bag, do you think over the course of the next couple of seasons you can at least kind of jockey yourself into a position scheduling-wise where you're getting the teams you want out of that bag to play to further the improvement of the program?
Well, we hope so. I've made a few phone calls with some of those schools, especially our freshman group, and we can maybe talk a little bit about that special group that I have a little twinkle in my eye about. But we've already made sure that, because some of the schools in Big Ten doesn't have freshmen, so boy, that opens up. So first phone call I made was to Martinsburg, and when the athletic director got on the phone, he says, "Let me make sure I'm hearing you correct. You're calling because you want to play us? Nobody calls us and wants to play us." He said, "I have trouble with everybody dropping us."
He has a point.
Yes,
and I said, "No, sir. I'm a new coach, and we're building a program, and we want to compete with the best in the state. And I've refereed several times at Martinsburg, and I know that program and those guys over there. And I was like, I'd like to schedule a freshman game with you. We'll see how that goes, and if we can, I'd like to schedule a freshman JV and varsity with you for next year." And so we're going to go to the last game the freshmen play this year. I think it's February 7th. We're going to take the boys over and play Martinsburg. So what we want to do, I want to see Martinsburg on the schedule. I want to see Capital on the schedule, Parkersburg on the schedule. We've already got Wheeling Park, and that pretty well covers the whole state of different sections that some of the best programs are in. So, you know, I'm believing playing better competition will make us better in the end. So, you know, and prepares you for tournament time. The style of play, I mean, yes, Tucker County, that's never a gimme. It's not a gimme this year by any means. But the style that we play against Tucker County is not what we'll see at Martinsburg or University High or Morgantown. It's a different style. Just as tough, but a different style. So I'd like to get with the teams that we're going to face come tournament time and be used to the style, the faster paces of play that some of these bigger city schools play.
That's a good point.
Well, it is. And again, very encouraging, because I know I'm not the only fan sitting here, and this is nothing detrimental, but for a long, long time there was one style of Preston Knight basketball. And you could say, well, it's because we got a small guy in the low post, or we don't have skill here, or we don't have particular skill there. But there was one style of play. And I kind of like hearing, you know, we're going to go up against different teams, so we're going to have some different looks. We're going to approach it in different ways. I think that is probably one of the most encouraging things going into the new year, into the new season, with a new coach again and starting the program from scratch again. One of the most encouraging things that fans could possibly hear is that we're going to come out here and we're going to see good, hard-nosed, hard play, but we're going to see a team that adapts to what they face.
Coach, probably one of the biggest factors that I saw in the past couple of years was conditioning. And that's where these bigger teams like University High and Morgantown, they just run you out the gym. Mm-hmm. Have you improved that conditioning this year?
Well, I instill the you're going to play how you practice attitude. I'm not a coach. I think we've only ran 2 line drills, and that was just because I got upset at something. So we quickly dropped what we was doing, and we ran 2 line drills, and I asked them if that's what they'd like to do the rest of the night, waste our time running line drills. Every drill that we do, and I implemented drills these kids have never seen before, and it's taken some practice time early to show them how to do a drill. They're high energy drills. Most of our drills we do are part of our offense. So whether it's a shooting drill, a passing drill, whatever, it's high energy, it's fast,
moving all the time,
and it's a part of a play that's in our offense. We don't have to run line drills, and we don't have to run a lot of stuff by the end of practice because we have worked so hard, and I time them. We do something for whatever, if it's a 2-minute drill, if it's a 1-minute drill, if it's a shooting drill, you know, if we have to make 30 shots in 2 minutes, running full court to come back and do it, I mean, they work hard to do that. Conditioning has been probably a very important part of the practices, and they don't even know it until at the end of the practice their tongues are hanging out, and in some situations in the past, well, that's when a team will run their, they'll do their conditioning. At the end of our practice, we're spent. Those boys are done. We have ran the entire practice, and they didn't even realize they were really doing conditioning as well as ball skill drills. So, do we want to play fast and hard? At some point, yes. We are not even close to where we want to be, but we're set. We got a foundation built, and I'm going to build a block by block by block. We know where the program was, and that's what I told the boys. The first nights, we know where we were. Tonight, we know where we are, but next week we want to know where we're going. So we kind of every week step something up. Every week introduce something new. Keep them thinking. We never get bored because they don't. I tell you what, they thought I was going to have a heart attack after the first 2 nights of practice. I don't think they'd ever seen anybody come at them with that energy. And an old fellow like me, I said, okay, you think that's something, that's what you need to do. And I've tried to lead by example. There was 2 or 3 days I couldn't even talk. lost my voice. You know, I couldn't get out of bed. I was sore. But we practice high energy, and that's just how we play, and that's how we're going to play at some point.
Well, that's great, Coach. Well, December 6th is coming up quick for all you fans out there. University High in the Castle on December 6th, and that's going to be a game that you do not want to miss. And we got I'd like to thank Coach Paul Koontz for being here on this first Coach's Show of the year. And Steve, it's been a pleasure, and we're going to come back on after December 6th and talk a little bit about the first game and see how it goes, Paul.
We'll try to have Coach Koontz here each week and get your week started off well with a good dose of Preston Knight varsity basketball. Let you see a little bit of what's going on in the background. We'll talk a little bit next week, I hope, Coach, about your assistants, your JV program, particularly your coaches, and the philosophy carrying down to those programs about how they're practicing and what they're doing to get better. And we look forward to hearing a little more about that as the Coaches Show will return once again, and we'll have some games under our belt at that point. And Preston Knight varsity basketball, the 2017-2018 season, ready to get underway. So we hope you'll be there and be here for the delayed telecast on Cable Channel 7, your hometown TV station. Until then, Coach, Terry, good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.